Hello everyone, I'm Dan Kennedy coming to you from the 11Alive Streaming Center. It has been a busy week across Georgia, so let's get you caught up with 11Alive news this week. The teen convicted in the deadly Appalachee high school shooting will spend the rest of his life in prison without the chance of parole. 11Alive's Angelina Salcido was in Winder and has more on what led the judge to this sentence.
I will sentence you to life without parole for each of the malice murders that you committed.
A sentence measured in forever for an attack that changed this community in minutes.
4 lives were stolen. 2 of them really just beginning.
At just 14 years old, Colt Gray killed 2 students, Mason Schermerhorn and Christian Angulo, and 2 teachers, Richard Aspinwall and Christina Irami, September 4th, 2024. Before the sentence came down, the 2 sides presented the judge with 2 very different versions of the teenager sitting before him.
The law tells us we have to consider these factors of immaturity, vulnerability, and the potential of redemption. He is not irretrievably broken.
We've seen no evidence he has any ability to develop a conscience or any ability to ever fully value human life.
Judge Nicholas Prim ultimately found the state's version more convincing, saying Gray did not act out of fear, anger, or a moment of juvenile impulsivity.
This wasn't transient immaturity. It was deliberate, contemplated evil.
Prim said Gray studied other mass shooters, fantasized about the attack for more than a year, and understood the pain he would cause before he caused it.
For the rest of us, there is no joy here today. It's only a measure of closure.
The district attorney called it a day of relief, not celebration.
The depths of their loss I can never comprehend.
Now, the courtroom quiets, but here at Appalachee High School, the work of moving forward continues. Students return Friday. The district says staff members are already running intruder drills, testing emergency technology, and reviewing how threats are reported and tracked.
Big part of this is we're testing our technology, number 1, and then number 2 is new staff.
The Barrow County Board of Education chair recognized the students, educators, and families who returned to court to share what this shooting took from them.
We have experienced and witnessed uplifting acts of kindness to help us stay steady on the path, to ensure that what has happened does not take more from us than it already has.
A community trying to move forward without ever moving on.
Together, with the continued support of our community, we're able to remain focused on the well-being, education, and future of all students.
Angelina Salcido, 11Alive News.
Continuing coverage on this story now. For the first time in Georgia, a parent will serve prison time for murders carried out by their child. Colin Gray has now been sentenced to 15 years after being convicted of criminal negligence in the shooting. Angelina Salcido is back now to explain why prosecutors say this case is setting new legal precedent for parents.
For nearly 13 minutes.
As you all are aware, this is the first case of its kind in the state of Georgia.
Judge Nicholas Prim explained the weight of a decision never before made in a Georgia courtroom.
Second case of its kind in the nation. And what we're really referencing is this new phenomenon of parents being charged in conjunction with crimes that their children are committing.
The judge sentenced Colin Gray to 15 years in prison, far less than the 80 years prosecutors requested. Prim said Gray did not plan the attack or pull the trigger, but ignored foreseeable danger.
You were convicted because the warning lights were flashing brighter and brighter, and you didn't get him help, and you didn't remove his access to the guns.
The judge pointed to simple steps Gray could have taken, using the gun locks he already owned, buying a safe, or removing the weapons while his son received help. Legal analyst Daryl Cohen says that failure is what could give this case an impact far beyond Barrow County.
This is saying to Georgia, to the United States, and to the rest of the world that's watching, we as a state we as a country, we as a system are going to hold a parent or parents accountable.
The only comparable prosecution came after the 2021 Oxford High School shooting in Michigan. James and Jennifer Crumbly were convicted of involuntary manslaughter and each sentenced to 10 to 15 years. But Colin Gray's conviction went further, making him the first parent in the country convicted of murder for a school shooting carried out by his child.
People need to understand that you have a duty to not ignore these risks. And if you do, then you're eligible to be prosecuted.
The DA says that charge, more than the number of years Gray will serve, is the message other parents and prosecutors will remember.
With Colt and Colin Gray both sentenced now, attention is shifting to the shooter's mother, but the Barrow County District Attorney says he does not expect to file charges against Marcy Gray. Our Grace King explains why.
They're trying to say that I'm encouraging you to commit murder.
In the months after the Appalachee High School shooting, Marcy Gray repeatedly talked about her son.
Ooh, the next one is really cool. It's testing drawings of you with your long hair.
But Barrow County's District Attorney Brad Smith says her words,
"This is glorious,"
and even her behavior,
that I would make my court too shine,
don't amount to a crime under Georgia law.
Make no mistake, Marcy is disgusting, and her actions are contemptible.
Smith says the only parent his office can prosecute for the September 4th, 2024 shooting is Colin Gray. He was Colt Gray's custodial parent, and prosecutors say the one who provided him the gun.
Because of that, we were able to prove that he was the proximate cause or a proximate cause of what happened at Appalachee. The mother does not fit that bill.
The only possible criminal case involving Marcy and Colt Gray could come from a different investigation. The Division of Family and Children's Services says it substantiated 12 findings of abuse and neglect against her.
I found enough evidence that she was physically abusing him.
It's unclear whether any of those findings will be referred for criminal prosecution, but Smith says they won't be pursued in Barrow County.
The other crimes that she may or may not be guilty of would be probably outside of our jurisdiction here in Barrow County, or would entail Colt Gray being the victim. And I don't know that I have the stomach for a trial where Colt Gray is the victim.
Other news for you now. Surveillance footage captures the moments Cobb County police say a man attempted to kidnap children from their mother as she was pumping gas. 11Alive's Gilat Malamed shows us how a mom's quick actions kept the children safe.
Surveillance video shows the mother fending off the man accused of attempted kidnapping for about 2 minutes before he drives off.
What you'll see in the video is every parent's worst nightmare.
An attempted kidnapping at a gas pump.
This defies all logic. The million-dollar question everyone's asking is, why would someone do this? And the simple truth is, we don't know.
Seconds after the mother walks out of the Shell gas station store on Delk Road with her children, the man accused of attempted kidnapping walks out too. The arrest warrant says 30-year-old Jerron Tucker opened the car door, grabbed a child, and attempted to pull her out. This video shows Tucker circling the car as the mother is able to keep him just far enough from the children, even waving the gas pump.
This mother had choices, and in that moment, she defaulted to her own just basic instinct of, I have to protect my children. Grabbing even just the gas pump and attempting to swing it almost like it was a baseball bat, doing whatever she had to keep herself in between the suspect, who is acting deranged, and her own children.
Marietta Police Department Public Information Officer Chuck McPhillamy says Tucker told the woman multiple times that he had a gun. When Cobb County Police, who also responded, tried to pull Tucker over, McPhillamy says he ran off. No gun was found.
Cobb had to chase him on foot to detain him and get him in handcuffs.
While police ultimately took Tucker into custody, McPhillamy credits the mother for her bravery and situational awareness, and the bystanders who calmly walked towards the situation with helping to bring a parent's nightmare to an end.
If it weren't for the actions of everyone there that day, this could have ended very differently.
Police also charged Tucker with simple assault and felony drug possession. In Marietta, Gilat Malamed, 11Alive News.
A suspect is in custody after an hours-long standoff. It happened on Park Circle in Conyers. Cody Alcorn has the latest.
The suspect's name is Reginald Pittman. He was wanted on a sodomy charge out on a probation violation from the Rockdale County Sheriff's Office. Conyers police tell us they had been looking for him for quite some time, and it was Pittman himself who made this call that led them to the house on Park Circle off College Avenue. And this is the moment Conyers police captured him. They went inside and found him in the attic. Conyers police say he actually made a swatting call, which was a fake call about a shooting. They were able to ping that phone number back to Pittman, which led them to this house on Park Circle. The standoff lasted just about 4.5 hours this afternoon, and we spoke to Conyers police about how they found him in that home.
We have drones that we were able to fly into the residence to try and locate him. We searched the bottom floors and then moved to the attic. That is where he was located, in the attic. He had barricaded himself upstairs.
Right now, Pittman is being booked inside the Rockdale County Sheriff's Office. A good chance he'll be heading back to prison for that probation violation. Again, Conyers police saying today it was actually Pittman himself who led them right to him. In Conyers, Cody Alcorn, 11Alive News.
Authorities have identified the woman killed by a tree that came crashing through a home in DeKalb County. Crews believe that house was empty until they made a heartbreaking discovery inside. Ariana Manise has this story.
Firefighters, they first responded to this home early Wednesday morning, but it wasn't until hours later that they discovered the woman had died inside of this home. And you can see how severe the damage was. The majority of the tree has already been removed, but you still see the branches from that large tree sitting on the back of the home, and that's where that tree fell. Now, neighbors, they tell us that the woman lived here alone, and firefighters, when they returned to this house on Britton Woods Road around 6 o'clock last night, after conditions had improved, that's when they found 68-year-old Bobby Pettiford died inside of her home. Now, we do know that storms moved through this area Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Officials, they haven't confirmed exactly what caused that tree to fall, but now we know the name of the woman that died inside of this home, 68-year-old Bobby Pettiford. Reporting in DeKalb County, I'm Ariana Manise for 11Alive.
More news after this. You're watching 11Alive News this week. A Marietta man says he was stopped by ICE agents while working in Alpharetta, and the encounter was caught on camera. 11Alive's Chase Howe spoke with the man and an immigration attorney about what happened and what rights people have when interacting with federal agents.
Don't matter where I was born at. Cell phone video shows an interaction between a man and who he says is ICE agents surrounding his work truck.
I just felt super targeted, man.
Ronnie Soprano is the man recording the video. He says the agents surrounded him and his co-worker while they were sitting in their work truck at an Alpharetta gas station. And according to Soprano, they kept asking him for his documentation. He was born and raised in Marietta. You can check his Georgia-issued ID.
I was surprised because the guy asking me for my documents didn't speak as well of English as I do, and he looked more Hispanic than I did. And I was just dumbfounded by, how are you asking me these questions and if you can't even speak English?
Soprano believes he and his co-worker were randomly targeted not only because of their work truck, but also because the color of their skin.
Many people could compare these instances to stop and frisk, which we saw in the 1980s and 1990s during the war on drugs, target Black and Latino communities. Do you see any similarities there?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Tracy Morgan is the founding attorney at Hope Immigration. I showed her the video of what happened to Soprano pushing back against the agent's questions.
Good for him.
Morgan says when it comes to federal agents randomly asking you questions or for documentation, you don't have to comply.
Now you need to be prepared for some repercussions perhaps, but you do have the right to say no. You don't consent to answering any questions without an attorney present.
And according to Morgan, it is unconstitutional for law enforcement to stop you based on the color of your skin. She says it can be a factor, but they need reasonable suspicion you've done something wrong or illegal. Reporting, Chase Howell, 11Alive News.
An AI tool for school children is drawing fire as many teachers prepare to go back to school. The concern is about using artificial intelligence to test young children for dyslexia. 11Alive's Doug Richards gets the story from parents and educators.
and I'm here to help millions of students find...
An AI program for schools has a family-friendly cartoon character to tout its learning and testing tools.
Hi, I'm Amira, your learning agent for Reading Growth.
In its video, the company says Clayton County school teachers are among those who have used its AI with school children.
Think about one teacher in a classroom,
saying it reduces their workload.
Amira steps in and does a phenomenal job with lifting that load.
The state of Georgia is funding Amira for school systems that want to use it. But some parents are asking whether using an artificial intelligence tool on a school system's youngest students is a smart choice.
Parents have definitely raised some concerns about whether or not the AI tool that was used as a part of the dyslexia screener was leaving, I guess, what they call personal imprints.
We're giving them our kids' data, their images, their voices.
Carolyn Boyd is a former teacher now sending a child of her own to kindergarten. She thinks school systems using Amira or other AI tools need to reconsider.
I don't feel safe having my kids' images and voices just out in the ether being used to train AI models to replace the staff that the schools should be hiring.
APS board chair Jessica Johnson says because Amira is state funded, opting out is complicated.
We've reached out to the state to identify if parents are uncomfortable because the state is paying for this Amira tool. I think there's some processes that we have to follow in terms of making sure that our students are screened.
Johnson says APS this week is trying to clarify under what circumstances a child can get alternate testing without using an AI program. In Northeast Atlanta, Doug Richards, 11Alive News.
Hundreds of freshmen are fighting back to get into Howard University after being unenrolled. 11Alive's race, culture, and religion reporter Danielle Nottingham heard from one local family.
Mason Farmer thought everything was set for his arrival on Howard University's campus next week until he received this email saying he was dropped from all of his classes.
Take me through what happened over the last week or so. I can imagine you were excited to pack up and get to Washington, D.C.
It was really like the final stretch. Hey, we did it. I got an email. My mom got an email. She gets home from work and we're like, hey, what the heck happened?
Farmer is one of 502 incoming freshmen unexpectedly unenrolled from Howard University last week. In a statement, the university said the incoming students missed the financial deadline to be enrolled and that families were sent multiple email reminders.
It's like, dang. We're right there. I thought this was it.
Mason is a first-generation college student and lives with his mom in Dallas. His dad was murdered years ago in South Fulton. Jennifer says Howard University is the one that gave Mason a $30,000 scholarship and that the balance of his tuition was coming from a scholarship given to only 5 children of Coca-Cola employees each year. So the payments were covered.
It makes me feel powerless.
Jennifer even bought Mason a non-refundable plane ticket to be on campus next week. She's still waiting to hear back from the university.
It just breaks my heart for my son because he's a great kid. And I'm not saying it because he's mine. The community will tell you he's a great kid.
It's been really disappointing the more and more I think about it because it's like we were right there.
A rough start to a dream Mason says he's had for years. In Atlanta, Danielle Nottingham, 11Alive News.
You know, for years, Georgia has seen more tractor trailers on the roads as more cargo comes to and from the port of Savannah. 11Alive traffic reporter Doug Turnbull went to a brand new facility in Gainesville that strives to help get both goods and traffic moving faster.
When it comes to moving goods across the country, Georgia is at the epicenter. The Port of Savannah is the third largest seaport in the country after a 7-year, nearly $1 billion project to deepen the port finished in 2022. This allows larger ships to bring in even more cargo, and for you that means more tractor trailers on the roads. To help ease the demand on the streets, the Georgia Port Authority opened inland terminals. The first, the Appalachian Regional Port in Northwest Georgia, opened in 2018, and a bigger one just opened in Gainesville in May.
If you think of a terminal which is going to be directly connected via rail from the Georgia Ports Authority in Savannah, and that connection is eliminating all truck traffic from the road throughout the state's infrastructure.
These ports are stationed in industrial and manufacturing hot zones in opposite regions of the state and adjacent to railroads so the companies can run cargo between Savannah and North Georgia by train. This means that when the two terminals are at maximum use, they can eliminate nearly 500,000 truck trips from Georgia roads. But why Gainesville?
You've got large manufacturers which are already using the Georgia Ports Authority, so being able to make that global connectivity is really what we are here and what we've invested in.
And the site is located right next to Norfolk Southern Rail.
We have over 18,000 foot of rail line here to be able to receive and also send out, obviously, trains on a daily basis.
The 6 85 feet tall cranes are electric and roll on giant tires up and down the tracks, stacking and moving these containers that trains and trucks drop off and pick up. The hope is to make more warehouse space available near Savannah, logistics for trucks more efficient, and improve the environment and safety for other Georgians.
Obviously, taking those tractor trailers with heavy commodity off the roadway coming through Atlanta, being able to remove those and put them on a train, moving with a safer mode, and then also from an efficiency standpoint on a time schedule, eliminating those trucks off the highways is certainly paramount for all public transportation.
For years, people who were wrongfully imprisoned in Georgia had no guaranteed path to compensation, but a new state law changed that. Now, though, some of the first Georgians approved for payment say they're still waiting for their money, even after lawmakers set aside millions of dollars. 11Alive Savannah Levins explains.
I'm aggravated, man. I don't have a safety net.
Frustration for Michael Woolfolk and Mario Stinchcomb, exonerated free men now after each spending almost 19 years in prison for a crime they were later found innocent of. And hopeful, too, after a judge recently approved compensation for them under Georgia's new Wrongful Conviction Compensation Act. But weeks later, they're still waiting to be paid.
I don't see why we should be putting on a back burner when we was already awarded this money.
Georgia lawmakers passed the compensation law in 2025, creating a process for people who are wrongfully convicted to receive financial compensation, $77,000 for each year of wrongful imprisonment. This year, lawmakers appropriated $5 million in the state budget to begin paying approved claims. That went into effect July 1st.
So the bill says that we're supposed to get paid immediately. This is not right.
At least one claimant, Kelvin Bradley, has already received his full compensation.
And his was right before ours.
But Woolfolk and Stinchcomb say they've been told they may have to wait until next year and possibly receive only a partial payment of $6,000 first. Not enough, they say, since they're barely scraping by after so long behind bars.
Hard for us to start a career at this age without any education, like any trades or anything.
They say no one has clearly explained why they're still waiting.
I've been checking and calling, and I haven't gotten any information. The only time I got any information is through you guys. You know, I understand that we're like the first. And so they're going to go through trial and error, but we shouldn't suffer behind their error twice.
Savannah Levins, 11Alive News investigates.
More after this. You're watching 11Alive News this week. You know, it's important to find ways to relax, and a new study shows that gardening can actually help you live longer. 11Alive's Rebecca Lindstrom explains.
Gardening is great for your mental and physical health. That's according to a recent article in National Geographic. It talked about horticultural therapy for veterans suffering from PTSD and how movement is medicine. Now, obviously, this is just kind of confirmation bias. Anyone who knows me knows that I love to garden. But carrying bags of soil, bending down to pull weeds, or digging holes, it's all good exercise. And even deadheading apparently can reduce cortisol and reduce the risk of developing dementia. A study has also found it can improve sleep quality and your mood. Plus, nurturing a plant gives you a sense of accomplishment. So get out in the garden.
Atlanta Ballet is making a return to the Fox Theater for the first time in 7 years. Joe Ripley went there to highlight 3 dancers performing on the biggest stage of their career.
3 dancers with 3 different stories. Pierce Bevan started dancing when he was 5 years old, often the only guy in his class.
The misconception is you have to be very feminine when you dance, but dancing can be very masculine and show the strength of what a male dancer can do.
He's now part of Atlanta Ballet 2, a high-level training program that shines the spotlight on 17 to 22-year-olds. Bevins will perform in Cinderella at the Fox Theater for the very first time this fall.
being able to perform at such a prestigious theater like the Fox will help me to appreciate all of the opportunities I have to come working with Atlanta Ballet.
Bevins will star alongside Isabella Oku, who started dancing when she was 3, crossing continents from Brazil to the U.S. to pursue her dream of becoming a ballerina.
For me, it's how we can tell a story or how we can bring a piece of choreography to life. Seeing all the results of all that effort, all those rehearsals, I think that's why being on stage is so rewarding.
Colin Wright crossed oceans as well, moving from Japan when she was just 3 and later joining the Atlanta Ballet Academy.
Just the impact that I can have on other people, especially people who look like me from different ethnicities or just look maybe different. I think it's really important that they see and feel represented on stage.
With Atlanta Ballet returning to the Fox Theater for the first time since 2019, it is a chance to expose a new audience to opportunities in dance, each move designed to draw out the artistic side in life.
Interacting with all those kids and seeing their faces and them smiling and being so happy to experience it was so cool to me, and it reminds me of why I dance. It's to make people happy.
While most kids spend summer break, maybe on vacation or staying up late, one local friend group took on a different route. Our Caitlin Ross posted this video to the 11Alive app with their special contribution to the community.
A bunch of kids asked one question that most adults never do. What else can we do to help? They had just spent the day making lunches for kids who might otherwise go without during the summer, but on the ride home, that wasn't enough. So these friends, ages 6 to 12, came up with their own idea. They spent the entire summer making 3D printed creations and keychains to sell so they could build a blessing box for their community. Their grandfather built the box, they painted it together, and it found a home at the American Legion in Monticello. This week, they cut the ribbon and filled it with food and other essentials using the money they raised from those creations. I love that they didn't wait for someone else to solve a problem. They saw a need, asked how they could help, and then they got to work. That is a pretty incredible way to spend a summer.
Thanks for watching 11Alive News this week. I'm Dan Kennedy. More news on the way next.